لا تنسوا الإعجاب بالفيديو والاشتراك في القناة.
Okay, so in this lecture we're going to learn how to create a pie chart. We've been working on creating column charts and bar charts and formatting our charts to make them look a little sharper and cleaner. And now we're going to use those skills to create a pie chart that looks pretty much like this. So let's go ahead and get started making this chart. So here we have our kitchen remodel cost worksheet and the bar chart that we created. And I'm going to actually show you two ways that you can take this same data, the same chart, and turn it into a pie chart. One way would be to create it from scratch, and I'll show you how to do that. Another way is to use an existing chart and turn it into the chart that you're looking for. And one awesome trick is that you can actually copy this whole sheet here onto another sheet and then just use that as the basis for building your new chart. So we can just go down here to the tabs for the sheets, and I'm going to left click this and I'm going to drag it over here, and then I'm going to push Control, and then when I release it, it just copies it over, and now it names it bar chart version 2. So you can see there's the original one, there's the one I'm on, and they're exactly the same. So now I can go in here and I'll change the name on this to pie chart, hit enter, and it's copied as another sheet. Now I can go into this and I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say change chart type. I'll go to pie chart, just gives me that one option, and I'll click OK, and presto, it's a pie chart. Now granted, this needs a little bit of formatting to make it look good, but the title is already formatted and a lot of the details, like the legend being taken out and the color scheme, is all the same, as well as the data that it's drawing from. So that's a great way to shortcut a lot of effort, and then we'll just do a little bit of formatting and clean this up and we'll be set. So that's kind of the shortcut. Now let me show you how to create a pie chart from scratch. So I'm just going to click on this and delete it, and we'll go back and we'll select our data and we'll go to insert, and in this case we just want a pie chart, so we're just going to go straight to pie chart, and we'll move this up here to make it easier to work with. We're going to get rid of our legend. We're going to rename this to cost of different materials, change it to bold, increase the font. You remember all this, right? There's that. And actually this is a pretty clean, sharp looking chart already. So all I really need to do is go to my chart elements, and of course I want my data labels, and I'm going to go to the drop down. There are a couple of options again: center, inside end, outside end, best fit, data callout. We're going to go with outside end again because it's just the cleanest in this situation. Close that out. We can go to our colors, and I do like this color scheme, so I'm going to go with that. And I actually like that this has the white borders in between each one, but that's something we could modify as well if we wanted to. We could highlight this data series and go to the border and say no line, solid line, or gradient line. And we can play with these a little bit, see what gradient line does. We can do solid line, which fills it with color, which is also kind of nice, or we can do no line, which is sort of the simplest. So we'll stick with that for now because simple is usually better. So one thing you'll notice with a pie chart is that the smallest slice starts right here at vertical, and then as the slices grow, they move around the chart until you get back to the full 360. And there's something about that that makes it readable and kind of easy on the eye, but I want you to know that you do have the option of rotating it as well. And the key would be, if you do rotate it, you want to make sure that you find a logical reason for that, or that the visual results are somehow better than this default setting. And one example of a reason might be, and this is a might because it's not always going to improve your situation, but where we have all of this data up here and it's kind of clustered in here, we may want to rotate this chart to pull all this over to one side to make it easier to sort and easier to separate out. The other option would be to consider moving the title to a different spot. So let me just show you what it's like if you rotate this. What we do is we click on the data series in here. We right click, go to Format Data Series, and in the series options here, which is under this bar chart icon, you have the angle of your first slice. So we can take this and we can rotate it, and whenever I release the mouse, you'll see that it moves it. And so you'll notice by looking at this that having the logic of the chart start way over here, it looks a little off-centered or lopsided. It looks a little off balance. So that's the drawback of rotating it. The benefit is that you can see that already without any formatting, these numbers are lining up better. So it could be possible to find a place where you could line this up that would work. We'll just kind of rotate it around a bit to see if there is one. Like maybe right there. And in fact, if we look back at my example, it didn't take into account very well the angles and the layout of the chart. But it did take into account where all of these labels belonged and where they would be most comfortable. So that's a decision you just have to make as you're creating your chart. So for now, let's just put this back at vertical. So we're starting with our smallest piece and working around to the largest. And we'll go from there. While we're in here though, I'll just show you another thing called pie explosion. So if we move this little bar a little bit, you can see that it actually breaks the pie apart and spreads it out. And in some cases, this can help you to really differentiate the different pieces. But it just depends on what kind of data you're trying to represent. So we'll put that back to normal. And then I'll go ahead and manually move these to give them some more space. So what you do is you click on them, and then I'm just going to drag this out of the way. And you'll see that the little line follows it out. Now I'll click on the next one and do the same thing, move it into more of a comfortable space. And then I'll move this one. And then finally this one, just to give them all a little space, and we'll click off. And you can see actually that's not too bad. That does not feel super cramped. So then we'll just move these a little away too, so they have the same kind of spacing, the same feel. And so they have the line to make them consistent. And there we go. Now one other thing you could do is we could take this chart title and we can just grab it and drag it down over here. And I could even put a carriage return or hit the enter key here. Then I could highlight this and left justify it to drop it over into the corner. Then I can take this part of my chart and I could either I could expand it to make it bigger, and or I can grab the whole thing and just move it up. So something like that. And then probably take this and move it into the chart just a little bit so it's more comfortable, so it's not cramped on the edge, and click off, and there you go. So now we have a pretty clean looking chart. Our title is in a nice open space over here so that all of these little guys have room to breathe so you can really see the numbers. Okay? And one final thought is that the purpose of a pie chart is to show you how all of the pieces of a whole come together. So you have 360 degrees starting from here all the way around to create a whole. The numbers are fine because they do tell us, you know, that these are inexpensive materials and these are expensive materials, but it would be even nicer to have either the material name labels or the material name labels and percentages. So we're going to click on the format data labels, and then we're going to go over here to the label options. Click on that, and we have label options here, which is a drop down, and this gives us all of the options for where we want this information to come from. So what we actually want here is the category name. We want to get rid of the value. So instead of having the values, we're going to have a percentage to show the percentage of the whole. We'll click on that, and then we'll click back into our chart, and now you can see it's giving us even more detail here. Now because it is giving us more detail, we are now running into the issue of needing more space. So we are going to have to move some of these out a bit more to give them a little more room. more like that. Now the pluses and minuses to this arrangement is that we have the percentages, which is nice to be able to see because those values are very relevant to the information that the pie chart is trying to tell us. But we also have the issue of it becoming a bit muddy now and almost having too much data in the labels. One solution to that would be to simplify our material labels. For instance, we have paint per gallon. We could either add another row that indicates that it's per gallon, or we could leave that off. But if we went in here and we took away some of these labels, some of the complexities of the labels, then you can see that really cleans up our chart and simplifies things a lot. So that's how you create a pie chart from scratch, and those are some options and ideas for formatting not only your labels but the arrangement and colors of your chart. And remember, you have some options. You can either take an existing chart like this bar chart and you can click on it and then right click and go change chart type and then select your pie chart, and you can go like that, or you can create it from scratch. I'm going to undo this. You need to remember to go down here to your sheet and you need to click it and drag and control and then release your mouse to copy that sheet so that when you change this to a pie chart, you can still go back to your bar chart without destroying it or basically overwriting it. Well, that's how you create a nice, sharp, clean pie chart which shows the percentages of the costs of your different materials.